Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to talk about how you can make your Laravel application instantly better. And I will showcase you five different ways that you can accomplish this. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing is setting up your Eloquent to be in strict mode. And this is really important, mostly because of these three scenarios. So first of all, when you're trying to get a random value from a user which doesn't exist in the table, you are just going to get null. Then here we are loading all of the users, or like 3 of the users, and then iterating through their contact details. This will execute a query on each run. So this is a problem because it's hard to scale. I mean, when you're taking 3, it's not a problem, but if you are taking all, or doing all the iterations, this is going to be a problem. Scenario 3 is silently discarding properties. So for example, we have a log that has title and details. When we add a foo and assign the value of bar to it, when we are trying to save this model, it's just going to be discarded without any information whatsoever. I'm going to execute this class from my thing here. And here we can see that we get null from the first one, then we get all of the values on the second one, and this one didn't do anything, just return the log ID. Okay, so now if we go to our app service provider, we could enable this line of code, and I'm going to import it. And now if we run this code again, we are going to get different results. So first of all, the attribute random value is not found on user. So this is completely solved. Let's remove this and run it again. Now we can see that we attempted to load contact details in the model. So in order to fix that, we just need to lazy load the contact details. So the second problem was solved. And for the third one, we got a mass sign-on exception, and it says that fillable property foo must be allowed in our model. So if we were to add our foo here, we don't actually have this in the table, but it would basically solve the problem. Now the next thing is code reusability. So the biggest problem that people do is they just put the entire business logic into their controllers. And this is a problem. Let's say you have a controller that, creates a blog post from some data. So you may have a user that sends this data to you via request, and then it's processed in the controllers. But you may also get a webhook, or you may get a call from a third-party service that's supposed to create a blog post. Now, oftentimes people just duplicate the code because it's simple. And when it is truly simple and you only repeat yourself like once or twice, this is fine. The problem begins when you keep doing this repetition. So the best solution is to just create a separate class that handles this logic. So for example, the approach that I use is service classes with DTOs. So DTOs are basically data transfer objects. These are PHP classes, basically, where you can just type properties. So let's say that we have a controller like this. Now what I like to do is I like to inject my service in the constructor here. And then I simply reference it in a store method, for example. I also utilize resources, so I can control how the data is shaped. And on top of that, we are not going to go into like the implementation of this method. You can just assume it, just stores the nodes. Not important. What's important is the pattern itself. It's super easy because it's just shoving the logic, in a sense, to separate class. But if you add DTOs on top of that, you have data safety, because now this is like a super simple PHP class. It has just a public title, a public content, and it has a method called from resource, which simply creates a new self when a request is passed. So this way, we have a really simple method that creates this class for us from the request itself. And this way we can easily transfer data within our application without having to worry about the type safety. Now, the third thing is Laravel Octane. Laravel Octane is a powerful tool. It allows you to do so many things. It has some like concurrency features that you could utilize. However, the biggest thing is the speed itself. Laravel Octane works in a way that it caches your application. and you don't have to run the application code basically on your request. So the application comes for free, and it does really marvels when it comes to the speed. For example, on my app that I work on a day-to-day basis, after switching to Laravel Octane, some endpoints were working like 10 times faster, which basically means that some endpoints that were, that were being processed in 120 milliseconds are now being processed in 12 milliseconds. And this is great. This is super fast. The only downside is that you do need have the knowledge to set it up. It's not super complicated. It's just different approach to how the application itself works, and there are some prerequisites to make it work. But you can also always visit the Laravel documentation, where you can find all the great resources about this great tool. So highly recommend. The fourth thing is introducing monitoring. So a lot of people actually run services like Telescope in their local environment, but as you get to production, they often are too heavy, especially under heavy use. So what you do instead to track errors and different things that are happening in the application is using third parties. And one of those third parties is Sentry, which is really powerful product that has Laravel integration. You can just Google like Laravel Sentry and you'll have a package that helps you integrate with it. So whenever there is an exception in the app or you want to raise an event, it will be sent to their dashboard, where you can look at the details, look at the stack trace, and get to the bottom of a problem that you're having. Now, of course, there are other tools. Sentry is not the only one out there. Another popular service is called Bugsnag, and it's basically the same thing. You have a dashboard, you can assign people different issues or exceptions that are happening, and just track them. So this is basically super important to make sure that your users are not having problems, and you can actually, and if they are, you can actually get on top of it and maybe even fix them before they are able to report them. So this is super important. And number 5 is feature flags. So feature flags are amazing. They are basically a tool that allows you to do so much cool shit. And this is like just the start. Now, there is a lot of benefits to using feature flags. First of all, let's say you are releasing a feature, but you are unsure about one part of the spec, but somebody else is relying on your code. So you can't really ship your work fully, but you're also blocking other people. With feature flags, you could potentially share your codes, but then block the visibility of that feature to users. This is just one of the simplest benefits that it gives. On top of that, another great use case for it is, let's say you only want to give a certain features to certain users. Maybe you want to create a beta group where people can sign up, and then they will get access to features first, and then they will be publicly available to everybody on the next deployment. So to make it happen, use feature flags. Everything goes bad, feature doesn't work, turn it off. And I have a full video on how to set them up in Laravel, and it explains all of the benefits. But that's not all. You can do one more cool feature with feature flags. And this is A/B testing. You can basically create tests and target certain users and enable features for them. So for example, maybe you're experimenting with new chat design, and you want to roll it out slowly so you can see how it affects users' engagement on the platform. Maybe this new design change will decrease their daily active time or something. So you can create A/B tests and roll out the new design for some customers and not roll out it for the rest. And you can see how the data changes between those two groups. So these are the 5 things that I wanted to share with you guys today. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to hit the like button, and see you guys in the next video. Bye.